There's an ancient text that many have wanted erased from history. It revealed a truth that gave ordinary people access to something that only society's elite at the time were supposed to control. The truth is that we have the capacity to shape and control energy. Hidden beneath layers of symbolism and allegory, this ancient Hermetic manuscript taught initiates how to bend it to one's will. This text wasn't just feared because of the mysticism it espoused. It was buried because it was intended to be a practical manual for energy manipulation. Within its pages, in coded steps, practitioners learned how to activate the internal force that governs not just the body, but reality itself. It lays out a cryptic blueprint for controlling the same field that moves stars, stirs emotions, and shapes outcomes. The ancients called it life force. The mystics called it divine light. But in modern terms, it's raw, perceptible energy, and it's yours to direct. And once you understand how this field works, you stop reacting to life and start engineering it. This is what you were never supposed to learn. Because once you learn how to control your energy, no one can control you. The ancient text in question is the Corpus Hermeticum. It represents the cutting edge of esoteric knowledge held by the mystics of ancient Greece and Egypt. At the core of this text lies a principle so foundational, it's been stripped of its original power. The idea that your inner world doesn't just reflect reality, it generates it. The Hermetic masters taught that the mind is not confined to the skull, and energy is not bound to the body. What you think, feel, and focus on doesn't stay inside. It moves, it radiates, and it shapes. The ancients didn't just philosophize about divinity. They provided a system. They taught that every human being is a microcosm of the universe. When your internal field is aligned, you influence life in ways that few ever imagined possible. Thoughts aren't noise, emotions aren't background. They're raw material of energy transmission. Every shift in your internal state, every breath, intention, and act of focus awareness sends a signal into the field. When that signal is chaotic, your experience fractures. But when it's directed, something remarkable happens. The world begins to respond. This is the forgotten purpose of Hermetic practice. Not just to know the self, but to master its energetic output, to command the subtle forces that move through you, to stop leaking power unconsciously and start shaping it with precision. Controlling energy doesn't start with ritual or performance. It starts with the moment you realize, I am broadcasting. Always. The only question is whether you're doing it by accident or by design. Once you see that, the training begins. You've felt this energy many times before, even if you didn't know what it was. The chill that runs down your spine when you sense someone is watching you. The tension in the air when you walk into a room thick with unspoken conflict. The warmth radiating off a person you trust without a single word being spoken. These aren't coincidences or quirks of emotion. They're direct encounters with the subtle field that surrounds all things. Energy perception is a real phenomenon, an extension of your awareness that you were never taught to recognize. Like hearing or touch, it's a sensory system that's gone dormant through neglect. But it never disappeared. It only faded beneath the noise of modern life. But here's what changes everything. This perception can be trained. If you've ever felt a tingling in your hands for no apparent reason, pressure in the center of your forehead, or a sudden internal shift when focusing deeply, your body was already picking up signals from the energetic field. You just didn't have language to name it. This is what the book really unlocks. Not just the knowledge that energy exists, but the awareness that your body is already wired to feel it. You're the antenna. The moment you start tuning in deliberately and consistently, your world shifts. But recognition is only the first step. To truly harness this field, you must move from passive sensing to active engagement. The same way a musician first hears notes before learning to play, you must learn to direct what you feel. That begins with the fundamental energetic tool you possess, your breath. Your breath is much more than anatomical function. It's the most direct bridge between your physical body, your emotional state, and your energetic field. Every tradition that ever taught energy mastery, Hermetic, Yogic, Taoist, begins here. And yet most people go their entire lives breathing shallowly, unconsciously, completely disconnected from the power that rides on every inhale and exhale. When you were a child, before stress, before programming, your body breathed properly. The belly would rise and fall naturally, pulling energy through the system like a river. But as tension accumulated, your breath migrated upward. Shallow chest breathing became the default. The flow weakened, the current slowed, and without realizing it, you begin to cut yourself off from your own life force. To reverse this, you don't need to believe in anything. You only need to breathe with intention. The Hermetic texts describe breath as the carrier of spiritus, the invisible spark that connects mind, body, and soul. They taught that by mastering breath, one could regulate not only their physical state, but their entire energetic signature. If you want to control energy, you must first understand how it moves through the human system, not as a mystical force floating outside the body, but as a structured flow bound to the mind and spirit. The Corpus Hermeticum doesn't describe chakras or energy meridians, but it lays out something even more foundational, a threefold map of being. The physical body, the ensouled self, and the divine spark work together as channels for the universal force. To the Hermetic masters, the body was not just flesh, it was a vessel, a temple designed to house the divine current. And the soul, the bridge between body and spirit, could either conduct that energy freely or block it entirely through confusion, desire, and disconnection from the divine mind. When your inner world is aligned, when your thoughts are purified and your emotions brought into balance, the soul becomes transparent. Energy flows through it like light through glass. When you're fragmented, fearful, or driven by impulse, the soul clouds and the current distorts. You feel it as fatigue, chaos, or the sense that your life is out of sync. This is why the Hermetic texts speak so often about purification as energetic refinement. Every act of clarity, stillness, or inward focus polishes the internal mirror, allowing the divine energy to move without resistance. When the current flows, your body feels lighter, your perception sharpens, your actions begin to align with outcomes almost automatically. The goal was always the same, to become a conduit, not to summon external power, but to awaken and circulate what is already within you. The mind becomes the director, the soul becomes the conductor, and the body becomes the channel. And once all three align, energy responds to your will with precision. Your hands aren't just instruments of action, they're extensions of the mind and soul. In Hermetic thought, the body is a vessel shaped by divine intelligence. Every gesture, every movement carries intent. When your mind is focused and your will aligned, even as something as simple as your hands can become tools of energetic command. While the Corpus Hermeticum doesn't describe physical techniques, it emphasizes a core truth. The universe responds to conscious attention. What you focus on, you energize. What you direct awareness toward, you begin to shape. With that in mind, here's a practice that reflects this principle. Energy follows attention. Rub your palms together until you feel warmth. Then slowly separate them. Close your eyes and bring your full awareness to the space between your hands. As you breathe slowly, notice what arises. A tingling, a subtle resistance, a pulsing sensation. These are more than tricks of the imagination. They're your field responding to attention. Now visualize a sphere of energy forming between your palms. With focus, try expanding and compressing it. Rotate it, shape it. The more deliberate your concentration, the more tangible the sensation becomes. This is energy shaped by will, not summoned from the outside, but activated from within. Hermeticism teaches that the divine mind flows through all things. When you learn to focus your awareness, to still the noise and direct your attention, what you're really doing is aligning with that mind. You're not creating energy, You're reorganizing it. And that ability, practiced consistently, becomes a form of command. As your sensitivity to energy increases, so does your vulnerability to it. The more open and attuned your system becomes, the more you'll notice the dense, chaotic, or heavy vibrations around you. And just as you wouldn't walk barefoot through broken glass, you shouldn't navigate the energetic world without protection. Energy is sticky. It clings to you through conversations, environments, emotional exchanges, even thoughts. The heaviness you feel after being around certain people, that brain fog that creeps in after scrolling through negativity for too long, that's not just moodiness. That's your field accumulating static. The Hermetic traditions, like many others, understood that regular energetic hygiene was essential. They taught that cleansing was necessary maintenance. Without it, you begin carrying burdens that don't belong to you. You mistake outside noise for inner truth, and your ability to shape energy gets clouded by interference. Start with breath. Inhale deeply through your nose. As you exhale through your mouth, visualize all stagnant or heavy energy leaving your body like smoke. Do this slowly with focus, and your field will begin to clear. Add hand movements, slowly sweeping over your body without touching the skin, as if brushing away invisible residue. For deeper cleansing, water becomes a powerful ally. Baths infused with coarse salt, rosemary, or lavender help draw out energetic debris and restore equilibrium. As you soak, visualize the accumulated heaviness dissolving and being pulled down the drain. Combine this with intention, and water becomes more than relaxation. It becomes a form of alchemy. But cleansing is only half the ritual. The other half is shielding. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. Visualize a sphere of light expanding around you. Bright, strong, impenetrable. This is your energetic boundary. You can color it gold for strength, blue for calm, or white for purity, whatever feels right. What matters is the clarity of your intention. With practice, this shield becomes a second skin, subtle but powerful, filtering what reaches your core. Grounding is another forgotten key. When your energy becomes chaotic or overly stimulated, it rises and spins without direction. Touch the earth, walk barefoot, sit beneath a tree. The earth discharges excess energy and pulls your system back into balance. You're a living field, and just like any system that holds charge, you must know how to release, restore, and protect. Once you learn to maintain your field, your energy stops reacting and starts radiating. Cleansing and protection are essential, but the true mark of energetic mastery is transmutation, the ability to take dense, uncomfortable, or even negative energy and convert it into strength. This is where Hermetic wisdom goes deeper than avoidance or defense. The Hermetic texts spoke of turning the gross into the subtle, and the subtle into the divine. Just as physical alchemists sought to turn lead into gold, the energetic alchemists turns pain into clarity, fatigue into focus, and fear into will. The first step is awareness. When you feel heaviness in your chest, tension in your gut, or static behind your eyes, pause. Don't resist it. Observe it. Ask yourself, what's the origin? What thought, emotion, or external interaction seeded this sensation? Awareness alone becomes the transmutation. You're no longer carrying the energy blindly. You're looking at it with intelligence. Now bring your focus to your solar plexus, just above the navel. This is your internal crucible, your furnace. As you breathe in, visualize a golden flame in that area. See it burning steadily. With each exhale, feed it the dense sensation, whatever you're feeling. Let the flame consume it, refine it, and transform it into light, into power, and into fuel. Color is another tool. Each frequency of light corresponds to a type of energetic action. Violet, long used in mystical traditions, transmutes. Surround yourself with violet light in your mind's eye. Visualize it washing your body, cleansing and reconfiguring your field. If you feel drained or numb, switch to gold or white, colors that restore, illuminate, and awaken. Sound too is alchemical. A low hum, a prolonged the vibration reverberates through your body and field, shaking loose stagnation and realigning frequency. You don't need to be a singer. You only need to let sound move through you with intention. The secret is this: energy itself is neutral. What we call negative energy is often just energy in the wrong place, in the wrong form, and at the wrong time. But when you know how to reassign it, repurpose it, everything becomes usable. Your pain becomes insight. Your restlessness becomes drive. Your shadows become firewood. Transmutation is the final layer of sovereignty. It means you no longer fear energy. You shape it. Nothing sticks unless you let it. Nothing controls you unless you consent. And that, more than any ritual or technique, is power. The Corpus Hermeticum doesn't teach that power comes from objects, but it does teach that the universe responds to focused will, purified intention, and alignment with the divine. In Hermetic thought, transformation begins within. The external world follows. That said, modern practitioners often use tools, crystals, symbols, patterns, not as sources of power, but as amplifiers of inner intent. They aren't ancient Hermetic instruments, but they do reflect a Hermetic principle. What's impressed in the mind imprints itself upon matter. Crystals, for example, hold stable structures that resonate with specific frequencies. They can be used to reinforce a state of focus. Quartz amplifies. Amethyst calms. Obsidian shields. The crystal doesn't create energy. It magnifies the energy you bring to it. If your intention is clear, the tool becomes a mirror. If it's scattered, the tool does nothing. Symbols operate on a deeper level. Ancient Hermeticism understood that the soul responds to form as much as it does logic. The divine mind speaks through archetypes. Modern symbols, sacred geometry, and glyphs, while not present in the original texts, still serve a Hermetic function. They compress intent into shape. They let you hold a vibration in a visible, repeatable form. When you meditate on a symbol, carry a charged object, or construct a ritual using geometric patterns, you're not just bypassing the inner work, you're reinforcing it. The tool becomes a bridge between your internal energy and the fabric of your reality. Hermeticism teaches that you are the source. The tools are just extensions. They help stabilize your focus, but they hold no power without you. Used correctly, they can make the invisible more tangible, but the current they channel is always yours. Energy isn't meant to remain static. Just as water stagnates when held too long in one place, so does the subtle current within you. While the Corpus Hermeticum doesn't offer physical movement practices, it speaks often of the human being as a vessel through which divine motion flows. Stillness of the mind and harmony of the soul open the path, but the body too plays a vital role. Across ancient cultures, traditions developed movement systems that helped circulate energy through the human frame. Practices like Tai Chi, yoga, and the microcosmic orbit were born in other parts of the world, but their underlying logic resonates with Hermetic truth. The body is a channel, and movement, when performed with awareness, enhances its flow. One such practice involves visualizing a loop of energy cycling through your form. You sit upright and breathe deeply. On each inhale, imagine energy rising up the spine, from the base to the crown. On each exhale, guide that current down the front of your body, back to the root. This cycle, though rooted in Taoist alchemy, reflects a Hermetic ideal, harmony between motion, intention, and the divine spark within. Other movements, like rotational gestures, spinal undulations, and breath-length stretches, can serve as energetic tuning mechanisms. They're not just about exercise. They're about unlocking stagnation. When your body moves consciously, it becomes a ritual too. Every motion becomes a command. Every breath becomes a bridge. Hermeticism teaches alignment of body with soul, of soul with spirit, of spirit with divine mind. Movement, when joined with awareness and intention, is one more way to live that alignment, not just in thought, but in form. Every thought you think is more than just mental practice. It's vibrational. It carries weight. It leaves an echo across your energy field. The Hermetic masters understood this long before neuroscience caught up. They taught that thought is the first layer of creation, the pattern that matter eventually molds itself around. The field around you listens to repetition. A single doubt may dissolve, but repeated thoughts, especially those charged with emotion, begin to crystallize into your energetic atmosphere. They become harder to distinguish from. That's why people feel stuck. They're trapped in the echo chamber of their own unexamined energy. But here's the power. You can rewrite it. When you consciously choose thoughts that align with who you want to become, and you hold them with clarity and emotion, you begin to shift your field. The imprint changes, and the feedback loop of life begins to show you new patterns. Start simple. Pick one phrase that holds power for you. Not a hollow affirmation, but a sentence that feels like a declaration. Breathe with it, charge it, write it down, and speak it loud. Hold it in your field long enough, and the old imprint begins to dissolve. The Hermetic text didn't just speak in metaphors. It outlined laws, principles that govern energy as precisely as gravity governs matter. And one of the most foundational is this: everything vibrates, nothing rests, and the frequency you maintain determines the quality of your reality. When your field vibrates at a low frequency, disconnection, guilt, resentment, your reality becomes dense, slow, and reactive. When you raise your frequency through clarity, joy, gratitude, or stillness, your field becomes radiant, magnetic, coherent. Things flow to you because you're in resonance with the outcomes you desire. Raising your frequency isn't about pretending to be happy or suppressing emotion. It's about choosing alignment. You can use breath, sound, movement, or even solitude to recalibrate. The shift is internal, but the effects are external. People start treating you differently. Opportunities open up. The heaviness in a room lifts when you enter. The world begins to adjust to your tone. Most people think life is happening to them, but in Hermetic understanding, life is always happening through them. Your reality isn't a fixed object. It's a living mirror, and every event, every person, every emotional trigger is a reflection of your current energetic state. This means you're not at the mercy of random chance. You're receiving real-time feedback about the energy you're projecting, consciously or unconsciously. If your relationships feel chaotic, if doors keep closing, if your world feels heavy, pause. Don't spiral. Scan your field. What are you radiating? This is the great secret behind every mystical tradition. The world isn't your enemy. It just echoes your vibration. Next time something triggers you, ask, what in me called this in? And what must shift in my field to release it? This is the path of the skilled practitioner, the one who no longer negotiates with shadows, but reconfigures the light that casts them. Once you understand how to feel energy, shape it, and move it through your body, the final realization is both simple and earth-shattering. Energy doesn't just affect your internal state, it affects reality itself. Every thought, every emotion, every focused breath you take sends a ripple through the field around you, and those ripples return as form, experience, and outcome. The ancient Hermeticists understood this. That's why they were so precise with language, ritual, and intention, because they understood that reality isn't solid, it's malleable, energetic, and it responds to the imprint of focused consciousness. You're not just a receiver of reality, you're a transmitter, a broadcaster, a creative force. This is the unspoken power hidden in the book. Every desire you hold, when charged with emotion and visualized with clarity, becomes a seed in the subtle field. Anchor it to an object, a gesture, a daily ritual, and it begins to take on weight. Add repetition and the frequency intensifies. That's how energy becomes matter. That's how intention becomes results. But there's a warning here too. Just as you can shape reality with intention, you can unconsciously distort it with doubt, fear, and scattered focus. That's why the true path isn't just learning to create, it's learning to discipline your internal state. Because energy follows emotion, and emotion feeds outcome. The Hermetic text didn't give you spells, it gave you mirrors. It showed you that the outer world is a reflection of your energetic interior. And if you want to change the reflection, you must first change the signal. So now the question is simple. Will you broadcast by accident or by design? The energy has always been there. The current has always been running. What happens next depends entirely on whether you choose to take control. Do you have personal experience with energy manipulation in your life? If so, leave a comment below. I'm Rory Raza, and I want to thank you for watching. Please subscribe and stay tuned for more content like this. Until next time.